Hello, corn-fed. No, I'm corn-fed. Hello, audience. This is corn-fed. So the name of the show is Corn-fed with Dalton Pruitt. You're the audience. So if I was saying hello, I would say hello to you, the audience. This is corn-fed, and no, hello to you, the audience. This is corn-fed with Dalton Pruitt, and I am the titular Dalton Pruitt, also known as the first billionaire podcaster, the Daniel Plainview of podcasting, the Caucasian Copperhead, Dalron, the chunky homosexual, what every black open mic host has called me, Dolphin Pruitt. Did I already say the Golden Chocobo? I have a lot of names that I've come up with myself. So, I don't know how much. I've always heard that other people have to come up with nicknames for you, but I didn't want to wait on that. I didn't want to wait for people to come up with things. I think so far, the one that someone else has come up with, someone did come up with, someone besides me. I didn't come up with it. One of you in the audience came up with Dalron, the chunky homosexual, which is funny. That's a good one. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. But then all the other names I've come up with myself, because I thought, it's important to have, to have monikers. I got to have some monikers with which to introduce myself. So yeah, it's me, the Golden Chocobo, Dolphin Pruitt, and this is Corn-fed with Dalton Pruitt, only on the Billionaire Podcast Network. Ka-ching, bing, 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 fill her up. People ask me, well, no one asks me this, but conversations I've had in my mind, imagine conversations with other people that may or may not exist. I guess just conversations I've had with hypothetical people who would ask about this or might bring this up, even though no one has actually ever asked. But the people in the conversations I've had in my mind have asked, what's the deal with the network? Do you really own a podcast network? And to that I say, I say I do. Therefore I do. So I do. Well, I'm the founder of the Billionaire Podcast Network. Does anyone actually own it? I don't. Who's to say? I like to think of it more as like a collective of like-minded, or maybe unlike-minded. I like to think of it as a collective of creatives, of rough and tumble, hard scrabble, scrappy creatives coming together to create something beautiful, to leave this world a better place than we found it when we inevitably one day shuffle off this mortal coil. I think that's kind of what the Billionaire Podcast Network is. That being said, I do have to form an LLC. I think that is something I do actually have to do. I can keep playing coy and doing this bit all day long about the network, blah blah blah. But I do think, considering that we are kind of doing business stuff, in as much as there's money moving around, I gotta get the taxes and all that figured out, because if it's just straight like single, self-employed 1099s. That's probably not the most like financially prudent path to go down. There's probably like stuff, like definitely like business stuff I need to do, but I guess I don't know. All that eludes me. I'm a damn artist. You know, I'm the creative. I'm not the business guy. But I suppose when you're in a position like I am, where I I have to kind of figure out all of it myself. I guess I also have to be the business guy. But I didn't go to business school. I went to liberal arts. Well, I didn't go to a liberal arts college, but I have a liberal arts degree from a state university that offers everything. I went to the University of North Texas, so you could get a degree there in physics. You could get a degree in computer science there. You could get a degree in math, history, political science, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, which was my original degree, was biochemistry, because I think I landed on that because when I was in high school, about to graduate, I was like 17, and I was masturbating one day, and when I achieved climax and ejaculated, this was a toilet jack, so I was jacking off while I was sitting on the toilet, because it makes for a cleaner escape, because I can just bust straight down into the bowl and then flush it, wash my hands, and then leave, and there's no mess, no fuss with it. It's all very efficient, and it's a clean break from once the jacking off is done. It's easier to just walk away from. So I was doing a toilet jack, and because it was a toilet jack, when I busted, I was able to look down into the bowl to peer upon my ejaculate, the semen that I had ejaculated out of my penis, and I noticed that it had more blood in it than it usually did, and I said, that's concerning. It didn't hurt. That's the funny thing, is I look down and there's blood. It's red. And so because it's mixed with semen, it's kind of like a pinkish color. It's like a red swirl that, as it mixes, makes like a like the same color as like a pink starburst. Almost, it's like a, when you've been after you've sucked on a candy cane for a little bit, that color, and so so I thought to myself, I think that might be blood in there, but it didn't hurt, and so I didn't know what was going on, but I was confused and concerned, scared. I thought, maybe, am I dying, or are my nuts dying? Something wrong with my nuts? So I called my physician, Dr. Chambers, and scheduled an appointment with him. And I whispered to the receptionist over the phone. She said, "Was this concern?" I said, "There's blood in my semen." And she said, "Oh, we'll get you in as soon as possible, sir." So I go see Dr. Chambers that week because there was blood in my semen, and I tell him. He asked me. He said, "Well, was this during sex, or were you jacking off?" He actually said, he was a cool doctor, so he said, "Was this during sex, or was this like Why after you had jacked off your penis? And I said, "This after I jacked off my penis, I saw it." And he goes, "Well, are you sexually active at all?" And I go, no. I regret to inform you, sir, that no. All the nuts I busted have been the result of, as you already put it, jacking off my penis." And he said, "Well, and so he asked me to drop my trousers. Trousers. "Can you please lower your trousers, sir?" He said to me, and he felt my nuts. He put a glove on first, so he didn't just barehanded feel my nuts. He put a glove on, and he felt my nuts. He had me do the turn your head and cough thing, and he really got a good, like a blind guy reading a book. Got a good feel of my nuts to really study them. And he said to me, he asked me, he said, "Did it hurt?" Because he said, "That's the thing I look for in any instance like this." And I was like, "Wait, do you get a lot of instances of bloody semen?" He was like, "No, just like any sort of occurrence that's out of the ordinary that someone might have, whatever, whether it's blood in your semen or whatever it may be." I forget what all, but you know what I mean. Just like if you have just like some, I guess it would be anything where there's blood where it shouldn't be. Whether it's blood in your semen, blood in your piss, blood in your stool, and in this case, it was blood in my semen. He said, "Did it hurt at all?" And I go, "No, it didn't hurt." He's like, "Well, that's a good sign. That means like it's probably nothing wrong. If there's no pain, if it didn't hurt." He said, "You're more than likely okay." What this is, he explained to me. He said, it's something called, I'm trying to remember what he called it, hematospermia, I think is what it's called, if I remember correctly. And he said that's, he said sometimes your nuts just get confused, is how he put it. He said, yeah, sometimes like the wiring gets crossed in your nuts as they try to deliver semen to your penis, and they accidentally also mix in some blood. It's like just a something that can happen that's uncommon in an individual. It doesn't happen regularly in an individual, but it's not uncommon in men. Many men, a lot of men, have experienced something like that, where they'll be jacking off or having sex, and when they bust, there's blood in their semen, And he explained to me, he said, "There really isn't anything to be worried about." He said, "If it didn't hurt and it only happened that one time," he's like, as long as you're not like spurting blood out like a Kurosawa or a Tarantino picture, you're probably fine. He was like, just to be safe, if you want, I sent over a prescription to the pharmacy you can pick up for an antibiotic, but I don't even think you need that. He's like, "You're fine." And then, as he was jotting down some notes, or I guess as there was a lull in the between diagnosing me and him leaving the room, he said, "You're 17 now, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "So you're about to graduate high school?" And I go, "Yeah." And he was like, What do you want to? What do you think you're going to college?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got accepted to UNT, University of North Texas." He was like, "That's great. What do you think you're going to major in?" And now at the time, I was heavily involved in my high school's marching band and jazz band. And so I really loved music, I feel like a lot of people love music. But I was like I played it. I was never, I don't know if I was never particularly gifted with it. Nor was I actually that disciplined. But I really thought that I might be able to be good at music at that time, playing trumpet and the marching band and guitar and the jazz band. I was more interested in the idea of being a good musician. Like, I would just sit around thinking about how cool it would be to be like really good at music and to have that proficiency. But then I didn't really work toward it with any level of persistence or discipline or ethic. I mostly just fantasized about being good at music and then would practice sometimes. But for whatever reason, I thought, like, I was gonna like major in music when I go to college, and so I said that to him. I said, well, I really like, I've really enjoyed being in marching band all through high school and the jazz band. And I said, I think I'm going to major in music. And he goes, that's ridiculous. He was like, first off, if you want to be a musician, you don't need to major in music to do that. He's like, he said, you think the Beatles went to college for music? So he's like, if that's what you want to do, don't even go to college. He said, but if you're going to college, presumably that means you're like wanting to get a job at some point. And he said, if you're looking for a marketable degree that's going to secure you a future in this life, he said you want something that'll get you in the field of biochemical engineering. He said that any sort of STEM degree, anything that could get you working in the biochemical field, he's like, you're set. You'll have job security and you'll make tons of money. So you need to major in you need to get a science degree, is what he said to me. And I go, huh. I guess I hadn't really thought about it. I guess, yeah, it's something to consider. And then he said, all right, you'll pay you'll just pay the receptionist on your way. That's a $20 copay. And then he left, and so then I went to the receptionist. I paid her the $20, and then I said, "Is my prescription still at the Walmart pharmacy?" And she said, "Yeah, it's ready whenever you want to go over there." So I went and picked up the antibiotic for the blood in my semen at the Walmart pharmacy. And I was really, that doctor's visit really gave me a lot to think about, because I said, man, that, he's right. Like, I can always play music whenever I want on my own time, and if that's something I want to do with my life, I could do that whenever. But if I'm going to, spend all this money going to college to get, if I'm going to get an education, I need to, like, think about what's a worthwhile education. And so I saw that the UNT, University of North Texas, offered a ton of different science degrees. And they had biology, chemistry, biochemistry, and I used the same logic as, like, when I buy shampoo, is picking that degree, because I said, well, you got, like, I go to Dollar General and I go, well, hell, they got shampoo, they got conditioner, but then they got this 2-in-1. That's one bottle that combines both products. I only have to get this one, but that gives me the effects of both shampoo and conditioner. I might as well get that. Why? Yeah, that sounds like a hell of a deal, and it just sounds like better science is involved in that product. And so that's why when I was looking over the majors I could pick, I said, well, this one, okay, look, you got biology and you got chemistry, and then you got biochemistry. That's both in one degree. So that's basically like 2 majors in one major. That's also better science, and it's more economical. That'll get me, like, doubly smart for the cost of one major. That's playing the system. That's finessing the system. that's the major I signed up for going into college, was biochemistry. And then college is like, I do think college is good. I think like when like the university system nowadays may have declined since it's whenever it was like really good. I don't know. You hear that in the news all. You hear people say that all the time, that like the college itself or the whole university, college universities are degrading, and they're worthless now, or they're declining, and there's no value to a college education. It definitely is it. Shit, is it worth what they charge for it? I don't know. Probably not. Considering like what a college education costs, that's like, for like a public, like a state school like I went to, even, you're probably looking at, for a 4-year degree, just for the classes. This is not including books and housing and all that. You're probably looking at like $60,000, and then once you factor in books and rent and all that, probably like $80,000 over the course of 4 years. So it is like extremely expensive, and it does beg the question, like, well, am I getting anything like worthwhile out of this? Like, is this something that's going to serve me in life that like justifies paying this much or going into this kind of debt? And I suppose a lot of times, probably no. There's a lot of stories in this country of people doing that and then just having eternal debt, and it just has made life much more difficult for them. But I think, when college when it works, it's priceless. You can't even. There's nothing like it. There's nothing that'll that replaces a good college education. The problem is that something that even exists? Did it even exist when I went? I don't know. But I mean, the quandary I have thinking about this is being in, getting to be in academia for those years, like getting to be in that environment, going to class and getting to like be in these, spend time in these halls of knowledge with professors and students, your peers, and everybody singularly focused on education and the pursuit of knowledge. I guess, also partying and drinking and getting laid. But that's, I guess that's ideally that's secondary to reading books and studying hard and getting smarter. I don't know if there's, if there's anything that's comparable to that, and it does seem like that is that's valuable. It's just that it's also really, really expensive. And also, I went when I was 18, so I'm also like still a child, and I don't think I really grasped at the time like what an opportunity this was to be able to go to college. Because I'm a dumb, selfish, self-involved, myopic 18-year-old. I don't have any perspective on anything, so it didn't even like register with me like how amazing this opportunity even is. And I was just like so caught up in my own like dumb shit. It's like, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm so sad. I don't know how to make friends. It's like, hey, friends can come later. You need to hit the fucking books. But I didn't have that mindset then. But look, what I'm getting at is that I signed up for this biochemistry major, and that's what I was getting at with like, so what even is like the value of college? What's going on in these universities? Because they say a bachelor's degree is supposed to be a 4-year degree, right? And so it's like, you would think that, or I guess so what goes into that 4 years? Like, why does it take 4 years to get a degree? Well, it seems like, from what I remember, the first 2 of those 4 years is because they make you do a bunch of bullshit. I remember where I went to college, they had what was called the core curriculum, and then your major specific curriculum. And some of the classes in the core curriculum crossed over with your major. But then there was most of those classes were completely disconnected. They only served your major in as much as the college made you take them. They made you take something from the core curriculum. So your first 4 semesters of college, you're just trying to get these fucking pointless, irrelevant courses out of the way. Just get these done so you can then start taking the classes that are actually pertinent to what it is you're wanting to study, to what your major is. So I mean, there's kids. I remember being in college, and you talk to your freshmen talking to other freshmen, and the first couple semesters of college, there are kids who are say they're majoring in biochemistry, biology, physics, whatever, and after 2 semesters have yet to take a single class that pertains to that major. They've just been taking statistics or whatever. I'm trying to remember just these fucking bullshit classes they make. History, political science. I took a class my freshman year called Human Sexuality, taught by a small gay Chinese man named Dr. Chong. And he taught, it was just a class on, butt fucking or something. And it was actually, a very difficult course. He was one of these fucking college professors who had assigned seating. It's like, buddy, I paid $2,000 for this class. I don't why are you telling me where I have to sit? Where I have to sit for your lectures about how to do safe sodomy, because he's gay. He had assigned seating, and his tests were actually really difficult. It was I remember I was studying, having to study a lot for a class about butt fucking. I got an exam I got my final on anal sex. I gotta hit, I gotta do an all-nighter in the library for my anal sex final. It's but then I think back on that, and it's I guess that is sort of relevant to a science degree, in that I guess a bunch of animals is biology, and animals fuck each other. But I don't know. It seems, thinking back on it, seems superfluous. It seems like a lot of fluff. That's what I called the professor. I called him a fluff, because he's a gay guy. One time I went to that class. He had assigned seats, right? There was some guy sitting in my seat. A diminutive, muscular man with a shirt, the sleeves of which were hugging his large biceps. He's sitting in my seat, and I go up to him and I go, "Hey man, you're in my seat." He goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he stands up. He goes, "Here." And so I go, "Thank you." And so I sit down, and then that guy goes to the front of the class. He goes, "Hi everyone, my name is Taylor. I'm your guest lecturer for today. Dr. Chong's invited me. Thank you, Dr. Chong. I have AIDS." I was like, ew. I'm sitting in the AIDS chair. And he gave us this whole, like, it was a guest lecture on being gay and having AIDS. That's, also part of human sexuality. That I guess, like, in the entire spectrum of humans having sex, some of them are gay guys, and within that spectrum, some of those gay guys have AIDS. And so he talked to us about what it's like to be a gay guy with AIDS. And it doesn't sound, it's not ideal. It seemed like even in the modern day when it's not the death sentence like it was in the 80s, it still just sounds like a whole rigmarole. It sounds like I'm not trying to be cheeky here, but it sounds like a real pain in the ass, if you ask me, having AIDS at any time. Even if it is just like having to remember to take all them pills, it's just like, oh, what a hassle, So, I guess that's where my, my being straight, but also my inability to, woo anyone into having sex with me has benefited in that I've never contracted any sexually transmitted. They still call them STDs, or they call them. Why do they call them STIs now? Isn't that something they're called, like sexually transmitted infection? I guess that's different from a disease. They wanted, I don't know, VD. I've never contracted any sort of VD. Because I'm not even, I don't know, it's not even just that I'm bad at sex. I'm bad at, like, even, smooth talking my way into having sex. I'm just bad at, like, forming the, connections with, people that are necessary to get, for them to want to have sex with me. So that's one, that's an anxiety I've never really had to deal with. STDs and any of the tedium that comes with them, with medications and treatments and so on and so forth. I've just never really been a part of my life. Sometimes, like, I'll go, like, take a shit at Walmart and my nuts will, like, scrape against the toilet seat. And I'll be concerned for a second that, like, what if there was, like, some sort of, like, gay piss residue on that toilet seat, and now I got hot nuts. Like, my nuts are breaking out in something from whatever was on the Walmart toilet. Like, I'll have those moments, but then it's like, no, I probably don't have, my nuts are probably fine. The Walmart toilet would not have, probably didn't do anything bad to my nuts. It is gross though. It is like, I do have to go wash them off. Like, the next chance I get, I need to hop in the shower and wash the Walmart toilet off my nuts. Otherwise, I'll be coming blood again. So I finished the core curriculum in college, like the first 4 semesters. I mean, in that, there were some classes I took here and there that were part of the core curriculum that were also part of my major. So, like, Biology 1, Biology 2, Chemistry 1, Chemistry 2, all the math stuff. And then eventually I started getting into the classes there just for my major. So it was so I did Biology 1, and then I did Biology 2. I forget who my Biology 1 professor was. My Biology 2 professor was a transgender Japanese woman by the name of Dr. Tam, who just looked like Shang Tsung. Just imagine Shang Tsung trying to talk like a girl. But, oh, finish him. That was my Biology 2 professor. She was really nice. And her class was challenging, but she was She was actually a really good professor. She was good at like elucidating all the biology stuff she was teaching, and it felt like, you know, we were actually learning in there. It was distracting how bizarre she looked. Because I think she was one of the, look, I'm an ally, you know, I support the trans. I think she was one of these, like, late in life, you know, one of these people who started to live her truth later in life. So it looked like, as far as, like, physically, you know, what she had done to transition was she had bought a blonde wig. But other than that, she looked like Shang Tsung. What's that guy? He's dead now. What's that guy's name? What's the guy? What's the actor who played Shang Tsung? Cary something? Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa. So yeah, that guy. That was my biology 2 professor. And then I had, chemistry 1, chemistry 2, can't remember any of the... it's crazy, man. There's so much I don't remember from that time. Like, I've forgotten so much of it. But in the moment, like, when I'm in college, it's all consuming, and I'm stressed the fuck out. I remember that. But, like, trying to think back on it, I barely remember any of it. And I was drinking a lot at that time, but you would think that over the course of, after, 6 years I spent in college, it took me 6 years to get my degree, I would remember more of it. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm struggling to remember most of that, like, my time in college. I do remember that I passed all my classes. I passed biology, chemistry, statistics, algebra, whatever. And then I started getting into I finished the core curriculum, as they call it, and then I started getting into all the stuff that was like, to complete my actual major. So I took some summer classes one year because I saw that I could, like, I was worried I was going to fall behind in my major, and I saw that I could take Organic Chemistry 1 and Organic Chemistry 2 all in one summer. So it would be like June is Organic Chemistry 1, July is Organic Chemistry 2, and that's 2 semesters of classes done in 2 months over the summer. So I signed up for that, and it was like, what a mistake that was, because the thing of it is Organic Chemistry is like one of the most notoriously difficult science classes in any college. It's like extreme. That's when you start getting into like some really heady concepts and like just confusing shit. I don't remember a lot. It's hard for me to remember a lot of it, but it's all the stuff of like, how chemistry interacts with biology is what you're getting, like these like reaction mechanisms that happen inside the body or with different organisms. It's so you get like these concepts like stereochemistry, like the way molecules, like observing molecules from different angles, and all this sort of like visualization stuff that's like being able to like picture a molecule from different points of view, different like perspectives, because these are all like microscopic shit. It's all microscopic, so you're like having to try and like take something microscopic and abstract it, visualize it as like a something you can actually look at, and then from there see how it would interact with other it's like, it's cool shit. Like it's like really fascinating stuff that I wish I understood better, but it's like so hard. It was like such a difficult, and it was made even more difficult because there was this girl in that class. There was a girl I met, and I'd started doing stand-up around that time, so I think like that January, so this is the spring semester of that year, that January, I had done my first open mic, and so at this point by the time I get to this organic chemistry class, I've been doing stand up for like 5 or 6 months, and I only say that because the exercise of like just doing stand up had instilled in me like more confidence, because I had struggled forever. The whole time I'd been in college, I'd struggled like talking to people and making friends. And so just like putting myself in throwing myself out there at these open mics and stuff, it just helped me develop more confidence. And I'd finally, like at this point, I was getting better at just talking to people and, forming bonds with other human beings. Much like molecules. Is the way molecules interact with each other, and that's chemistry. And so, there was this girl in that class. Her name was Shireen, and she was really pretty. And I like pretty girls, but she was just this beautiful Persian woman. She was Iranian, and she had really nice eyebrows and beautiful jet black hair, big ass titties. She was really pretty, and I saw her. I remember the first day of that class walking to the building, and I saw her just on my way there. I didn't even know she was in that same class. I didn't know she was gonna be, but I just saw her across the way. From where I was walking on my way to class, and I just spotted her, and I said, "Oh my God, that's like the prettiest girl I've ever seen." I almost said prettiest woman, but then for some reason I chose to say prettiest girl. But I guess we are all over the age of 18 at this time, so it would be the prettiest woman. But for some reason, you heard me just now say what I just did, the verbal stumble I just had, where I said that's the prettiest girl. I stopped myself from saying woman and then said girl to infantilize this woman almost. I don't know why I did that. I guess because it's takes away, it robs her of her power in my mind. She's not a woman, she's a girl. But I'm not, but it's not like, it's not that I'm attracted to grown women. I'm just trying to think of what's the psychology behind why I went with girl instead of woman just now. I mean, maybe that's something I need to explore, later on. As they say, something I got to unpack. Anyway, I saw her on my way to class, and I said, that's like the prettiest woman I've ever seen. And then I get to class, and she walks in. I sit down, I see her walk in, and I go, oh my God, the prettiest woman I ever seen is in this class with me. And it was like the first time I'd ever, deliberately, because I'd always, up till then, thought about, I just struggled so much as, approaching women, not girls, approaching women and talking to them and making any sort of effort toward, doing anything, and then with, forming any sort of connections with women I was attracted to. You know what I mean? And so this is the first time I said, I'm going to talk to that woman, that girl, that woman, and I'm going to get to know her. I want to know who the prettiest woman of all time is. And so I did. I went over and I sat next to her and I said, hello, I'm Dalton. What is your name? And she goes, Shireen. And I said, wow, that's a really pretty name. The prettiest name for the prettiest woman ever. This is what I'm thinking. I don't say that. I just go, oh, Shireen, that's a cool name. What was that? She said, oh, it's Iranian. And I said, yes, Iranian. Iran. I don't know nothing about it, Ron, but that's a pretty that's a cool name. I know it used to be Persia, and I played a video game called Prince of Persia. You ever played that video game? And then she said no, and I said, "Don't you know what? Don't even let's." Class is about to start. Don't even worry about it. Anyway, so and then she laughed at all my jokes and she thought it was funny. I'm bringing this up because she was just I was so smitten by this woman. She was so pretty, and like we started hanging out. Like we actually did become friends. We'd hang out, and I was so just infatuated with her that I had like foregone even why I was in this class. I was like, who gives a shit about organic chemistry and getting a college degree? I'm trying to get the prettiest woman in the world to fall in love with me. And, at the time I was so caught up in all my emotions and like wanting this woman to like me. I kind of didn't realize, I was not aware of my behavior. Or maybe I was. I don't know. Thinking back on it, it's just like, it makes me cringe. It just sucks to think about because I was so obsessed, and I'd become so obsessive in the way I was like interacting with her that eventually she just got too perturbed by my advances because she thought it was funny and she liked being friends with me and all that. But then, I tried, I asked her out with romantic intentions one time, and she said, "Oh no, it's, we're friends." I'm flattered, but no. I go, okay. And then I kept asking her out, many times after that, and eventually, I think eventually I did too many. I asked her out too many times because she sat me down one day and said, "Hey, look, we cannot be friends anymore." And I go, "What?" And she was like, "You're just creepy. You're a creep, and you're like crowding my space, and I just don't feel comfortable around you. And I would prefer it if we just were not friends anymore, and that you never contact me again." And then I screamed at her. And I was just unintelligible, guttural screams. I was so heartbroken, so angry. And so then, she pulled out her cell phone, getting ready to, I imagine dial 911. I don't know. And she was walking away, but she had her phone ready. And then I got scared because she had her phone, and then because I realized I was acting insane, and I go, "Uh-oh, all right, this is not going to win her over." Me screaming. In fact, I really screwed the pooch on this one, and so I went back to my apartment at the time, and I cried. And then there was an entire month left of that class that I just kept having. I had to see her every day for the next month, and it was made me so sad. But the thing about organic chemistry though is that it is like an exceptionally difficult course. But because it was a summer class, and the professor herself is like having to rush this along, the final exams at the end of each. At the end of Organic Chemistry 1 and Organic Chemistry 2 were multiple choice, 3 choices. So instead of your typical ABCD or ABCDE, it was just ABC. So I passed Organic Chemistry. I did learn some stuff, and I retained some information that going into these exams, there were some questions I was certain about. But then I passed the exams for the most part just due to odds, just due to like there being only 3 choices per question, gives me like pretty decent odds at getting at least a C on the exam. And so just through guessing on the questions I wasn't sure about, which was a lot of them, combined with the questions I was sure about, which was very few, I secured myself a C in both Organic Chemistry 1 and Organic Chemistry 2, which allowed me to then sign up for the next courses, the next science course, going into my 4th year of college, which was elementary biochemistry, which was taught by Professor Dick Stein, was her name. She was an old, curly-haired, I'm guessing Jewish, by the name Dick Stein. Kind of looked like Joyce Carol Oates, who looks like old Katu King, was what this professor looked like. And I get into that class. The prerequisite for that class is Biology 1 and 2, Chemistry 1 and 2, Organic Chemistry 1 and 2. And I get into this elementary biochemistry class, having kind of skated by all the prerequisite classes, and I know nothing of what this professor's talking about. I'm completely lost, and I'm just failing every exam. My other classes I'm taking at the time, which were Calculus 2 and Mechanical Physics, I'm failing every exam, and I'm just wondering, how did I get here? How did I do good enough and all the other shit that I was able to even sign up for any of these classes? Because I don't know any of this shit. I'm failing every single exam. And then, at this point, I've been doing stand up for however many months, and I'm starting to feel like my heart, even though this was at the recommendation of my doctor after I told him I had blood in my sperm, I just don't know if my heart is in the science degree anymore. I feel as though I have the heart and mind and soul of a creative. And I feel like, that what I'm good at and what I love and what I want to be studying is English, is the liberal arts, the humanities, literature, reading, writing. And I'm definitely not going to pass any of these classes, so I got to do something. So I withdraw from the shit I'm failing, and then I took some time off of college completely, and I went and worked worked for a guy in Irving, Texas. I worked for a company called Westerman Bolting and Gasket, which was a warehouse that manufactures, I don't know if it still exists. It was a warehouse that makes nuts, bolts, and gaskets. And so I was working in the office there, making like $15 an hour, doing like basically nothing all day, while a bunch of Mexicans in the warehouse were doing something. I don't know. They were making a fucking racket. It was loud as shit in there. There were sparks flying and forklifts driving around. So they were doing stuff, and then I'm doing nothing all day, just wondering, like, man, what is even good? What am I doing with my life? I'm working in this fucking warehouse, just kind of twiddling my thumbs, and then every now and then somebody asks me to go grab something out of a printer and put it in a thing, and I'm just out of an 8-hour day, mostly just staring up at fluorescent lights, watching them hum and buzz. And so I go back to the university portal, the website portal thing, and I go, I technically have not dropped out of college. I never unenrolled. I just didn't sign up for any classes that semester. So then the next semester, I like signed up for. I changed my major, and then went and signed up for all the English classes I needed. And I went and told the guy, the boss at Westerman Bolton Gasket, hey, I'm going back to college, and so I can't work here no more because I got to go spend $8,000 a semester to read books. And so so then I go back. I'm back in college now, an English major. This is now going on my 5th year of college, and I'm basically starting over. I guess that's the thing is like having already done all the core curriculum. I basically only have now it's like there's only 4 semesters left, and it's just all the major stuff just for the major. So I'm not starting over completely. But, so I go into this English degree, and it was, look, make no bones about it, it is an exceedingly easier, it's a much easier degree than a science degree. It is for anybody, it's nowhere near as difficult a major as any sort of science major. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, a humanities degree is just as difficult as a science degree. That is not true at all. Is it just as valuable? Probably not. No. But it is valuable. I do think that we need the humanities. We need people who are good at exploring the human condition through words and sentences and creativity and art and all that. So I do think it's valuable, and I do think it's like, when you have good professors and you're in the academic environment and all that, I think it's something that's like can be very positive. It just doesn't really lead to like any jobs, It's not something that you do and then there's the employers that are like ready to hire you. It's more like you study English and then you get your degree and you go, I don't know what to do now. But I do remember like really enjoying that degree. Like it clicked much more. Like I was really enthusiastic about reading all the assignments and writing the papers and all of it, and I just found it to be much more enjoyable. And I do think it helped me like develop like my own voice and just have my own the way I think about things. Help me develop the way I think about things. Which, it definitely fed into my own creativity. But then again, it was extremely expensive, and I still have not finished paying it off, so who's to say what the actual value of it is? But all that's to say that I'm more of a creative guy. I don't really understand business, So here, when it comes to the Billionaire Podcast Network, this particular podcast network, I'm more of like a creative force behind it. But the business side of things is something that I'm still learning how to navigate. Because I at no point did I ever go to business school. So but fortunately, I got a lot of great people that I'm working with here at the network. And that's why I like to think of it as like a collective. That's like we're all here together pursuing a common goal. Or, working to create something together, and we're all lifting each other up. That it's each person brings what they bring to the table, and then together we're creating something really beautiful for this earth. So I appreciate all y'all that are subscribed and that stay subscribed and that support what we do here at the network. And I'm back. I just thought I'm back from my journey to be with my family. To reconnect with my brother and go back to my homeland, or one of my homelands, just to go back to a place where my family is and reconnect with them. So everything, I'll be back streaming, kicking it in the high gear here soon. I just wanted to record something, do a recording right now, and then the streaming's going to get back in full force soon. Back on the schedule as it always is, as it has been, as it will be. I may or may not talk about at some point everything that happened. You might be able to discern from the tone of my voice right now that I don't know. It's a lot of stuff that I just definitely want to talk about with somebody, but I don't know if it would be appropriate to talk about in such a public forum. The experiences that I've had recently with I don't know, family, But hey, I love my family, that is all y'all that tune into the shows that I do. I love you. And please subscribe to Patreon. And please buy some merchandise at bpnmart.com. Thank you. I love you.